frequency because I wanted to see first what was happening with my EQ. You got to first make sure that what you're gonna do, it's gonna make any change to the sound of your mix. And the only way to do it is by, sometimes you have to go nuts just to see the effect of such tool it's having on your material, okay, girls and boys? So the second thing that I did was this. From there, I started to mess around with the different frequencies that it has to offer. And to be honest, girls and boys, I don't know which one I like the best, because we got 60 hertz and then we got 100 hertz, and both of them were doing crazy good stuff to the sound of the mix. But 60 hertz was a little bit more muddier, and 100 hertz was clearer but not as punchy. So let's give it once again another listen, and we should decide. So I'm gonna start first by getting rid of the EQs, and then I'm gonna get the 60 hertz. We're gonna give it a run for its money to the sound of the mix, and then I'm gonna start changing or going between the different sounds. Okay, so here we go. First, without. Yep, it's way better on the 60 hertz. The 100 hertz was adding a little bit of an annoying resonance, especially when the kick drum was hitting. Some of the sound was okay when the parameter of the EQ was set on 100, but most of the time, every single time that the kick was hitting, we got that annoying resonance that was unpleasant to the ears. So I decided, let me show you once again the EQ. I decided to get rid of, to go back to the 60 hertz because we were adding a really good weight to the sound of the whole mix, not only to the kick drum. And also, I decided to change the amount of energy that I was adding. Let me show you the other guy because it's easier, given the fact that we have some shadows over there. So I backed down the amount of boosting that was applied to the sound. And also, I cut a tiny fraction, girls and boys. A huge recommendation, whenever you're mixing and wherever you are working with EQs of this nature, not necessarily hardware, okay, girls and boys, but wherever you're mixing and using a master EQ following this pulteq style of equalizer, it's not, I wouldn't recommend you to cut information because of how the shape of the curve that it's of the EQ curve that this equalizer has might affect quite badly the sound of your mix as a whole. Okay, girls and boys? So it's not a rule, and if it's a rule, you know that rules are only made to be broken. But don't do it at the first shot. Try to think first, okay? Now, going back to the EQ. It's time to add some high-end frequencies or high-end energies, because now we have a kind of unbalanced mix. And the way to do it is by working with these guys over here. These guys, remember, girls and boys, are working with the high end. So I guess that it might be somewhere between 5K, 8K, and 10K, okay? So let's get first with the 5K, and I'm gonna add a crazy amount first just to see what the equalizer is doing to the sound. So here we go. Okay. It sounds awesome, isn't it? Wow, I wasn't expecting this change to be this dramatic. What happened? And sorry, girls and boys, I am kind of shocked because for real, I wasn't expecting this change to be of such a magnitude. Okay, so what happened is this. I am still trying to come up with which one or to make a proper decision because we got two amazing candidates for this application. Let me explain. The 8,000 hertz. Let me go back to the EQ. 8,000 hertz. This guy over here. It's adding a beautiful and amazing sizzle to the sound of the cymbals, but also it's adding a little bit more of the je ne sais quoi to the sound of the guitars, and at the same time it's kind of quasi compressing the sound of the track and making the sound of all of the different instruments feel together for the first time in the mix. That's incredible. That's great. I wasn't expecting this result, to be honest, girls and boys, but it's working. That's great. So the thing is that when I changed to the 10K, we got a much more open-ended sound. It sounds a little bit more. It's adding this 3D effect that it's quite beautiful. I liked it quite a lot, but we were losing some of the beautiful to the beautiful sizzle and definition that the 8K is adding. So we're gonna do the same experiment, girls and boys. We're gonna go back and forth between 8 and 10. 5, I didn't like it that much because it was enhancing certain frequencies on the snare and the guitar, which makes total sense because those 5K is where usually those instruments are going to be found. So I'm going to press play once again, and from there we're going to make a decision. So here we go. Now I think we got the winner. I really like the sound of this 8K frequency. From there, I don't know if we're gonna cut. No, I don't think so because we got a beautiful sound already. So I think that the next step is gonna be quite interesting, girls and boys, because now we're gonna add compression and not regular compression, girls and boys. We're heading to this guy over here. If you are familiar with this channel, or if you have been following this channel for a little bit longer than most people have, you will be familiar with this guy. This is my beloved drummer, 1978. It's a powerful compressor, and it's great. I love it on my stereo bus, girls and boys. So first, we're gonna reset the preset or the state of the compressor, and we're gonna do it by changing the threshold to a much more zero status. From there, we're gonna make sure that our output it's 0 as well, because I don't want to be fooled by having a louder signal. From there, we're gonna get rid of the EQ and all of the previous, especially this guy. This is amazing. This is a saturation knob, which is adding distortion. And you know, girls and boys, that I love distortion. So I'm gonna back it off. From there, we're gonna engage it once we start playing music. So I'm gonna play music once again, and I'm gonna press play. This guy means that it's not working at this moment. As soon as it's off, the light off, we're gonna start to get signal coming into the sound of the compressor. I know, doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. So here we go. Let's see, girls and boys. Let's give it a shot. Okay, we got several things happening over here. First thing first, we first have to make sure that the compressor was I wanted to be sure what the compressor was doing over the sound of the overall sound of the mix. Okay, so I went nuts. You should never go nuts, especially when you are working with an stereo compressor on your master bus. Secondly, I don't know if we will need to add more at faster attack or a slower release, because we are already capturing the attack of the snare with this guy. That's the whole point of this knob, at least for this mix. I want to capture all of the sounds, all of the transients that conforms the sound of the snare, just as a way to make sure that we get a much more controlled sounding mix. Also, over here, we got an EQ, which is great, and that's what we're going to be working on at this point. So I want to make sure that the kick drum is not triggering the circuit, the equalizer circuit, the compressor circuit. And how to do that, I'm glad that you didn't ask. The way to do it is this. You got this area over here, the shaping area. And in here, we got something that might be called differently in a different compressor. Some compressors called it a low-pass filter. Yeah, actually it is. And it's not what you might find in an equalizer, because what it's doing, we're gonna tell, and let me go bigger because this is important, girls and boys. What it does is this. Your compressor, it's expecting a certain sound to hit the